Delusional disorder is a profound psychological condition, deeply rooted in the complexities of the human mind. To truly understand it, we must look beyond the surface, exploring the intricate tapestry of genetic, epigenetic, developmental, social, environmental, and even drug-induced factors that contribute to its etiology. At its core, delusional disorder may have a genetic component. Research has shown that individuals with a family history of schizophrenia or other psychotic disorders are more susceptible to developing delusions. This genetic predisposition may interact with other factors, creating fertile ground for delusions to take root. But genetics alone do not tell the whole story. The field of epigenetics reveals that our environment can influence how our genes are expressed. Traumatic experiences, chronic stress, or significant life changes can activate these underlying genetic vulnerabilities, leading to the onset of delusional thinking. For example, someone who has experienced significant loss or betrayal might develop persecutory delusions, believing that others are conspiring against them. Developmental factors also play a crucial role. Early childhood experiences, particularly those involving attachment and emotional security, can influence how one perceives and interprets reality. A child who grows up in an environment of fear, neglect, or inconsistent caregiving may develop a distorted view of the world, laying the groundwork for delusional thinking later in life. This child might grow into an adult who believes that the world is inherently unsafe and that they must always be on guard against unseen threats. Social and environmental factors further shape the development of delusional disorder. Isolation, whether physical or emotional, can exacerbate feelings of suspicion or grandeur. Imagine someone living in prolonged social isolation, cut off from the perspectives of others. Without the social checks and balances that come from interacting with a broader community, their thoughts may spiral inward, reinforcing their delusions. Similarly, living in a stressful or unstable environment can heighten anxiety and fear, making delusional beliefs more likely to emerge as a coping mechanism. Adding to this complex mix is the role of certain drugs in triggering delusional symptoms. Research has shown that substances like amphetamines, cocaine, and hallucinogens such as LSD and PCP can induce psychotic symptoms, including delusions. In some cases, these drug-induced symptoms may persist even after the substance has left the body, leading to a full-blown delusional disorder. For instance, prolonged use of high doses of amphetamines can lead to paranoia, where the individual becomes convinced that others are watching them or plotting against them. Similarly, heavy cocaine use has been linked to persecutory delusions, where the user might believe they are being followed or that someone is trying to harm them. Additionally, THC, the psychoactive component in cannabis, has been linked to the induction of psychotic symptoms, including delusions in some individuals. High doses of THC, especially when consumed frequently or in potent forms, can lead to temporary or even prolonged psychotic episodes, particularly in those who are predisposed to mental health disorders. It's important to recognize that while these substances can trigger delusional symptoms, they often interact with pre-existing vulnerabilities in the individual's psyche. Someone who already has a genetic predisposition or who has experienced significant trauma may be more susceptible to developing delusional disorder as a result of drug use. Let's consider some real-world examples. One documented case involved a middle-aged woman who believed she was the rightful heir to a vast fortune, despite no evidence to support this claim. Her delusion began after a period of significant financial stress, coupled with the sudden death of a close family member. The combination of grief, financial instability, and a family history of mental illness created the perfect storm for her delusion to take hold. In another case, a man developed the belief that his neighbors were spying on him and plotting to harm him. This delusion took root after he lost his job and spent months alone in his apartment, ruminating on his misfortunes. The lack of social interaction and the constant stress of unemployment fueled his paranoia, leading him to misinterpret ordinary events, like his neighbors talking outside, as evidence of a conspiracy against him. For those living with delusional disorder, the delusions often feel like an undeniable truth. But how might someone with this disorder come to believe that their delusion is not reality? The process is gradual and delicate, requiring a combination of self-reflection, supportive relationships, and, at times, professional guidance. It begins with a glimmer of doubt, a small, almost imperceptible moment where the person questions the validity of their belief. This doubt can be nurtured by exposing the person to alternative perspectives in a non-confrontational way. For example, a family member might gently ask, "Is it possible that there's another explanation for what you're experiencing?" This approach encourages the individual to consider other possibilities without feeling attacked or invalidated. Family support is vital in this process. Families can help by maintaining open lines of communication, offering gentle reality checks, and creating a safe and non-judgmental space for discussion. It's important for family members to educate themselves about delusional disorder, understanding that the delusions are not a choice, but a symptom of a deeper psychological struggle. By avoiding arguments about the delusion itself and instead focusing on the emotions behind it, families can help their loved ones feel heard and supported. For example, instead of directly challenging the delusion, a family member might say, "I can see that you're really scared about what might happen. Let's talk about those feelings." This approach helps to validate the person's emotions without reinforcing the delusional belief. Over time, with consistent support and encouragement, the person may begin to see cracks in the delusion. They might start to recognize inconsistencies in their belief or notice that others do not share their perception of reality. This growing awareness can be the first step toward healing, as the individual starts to entertain the possibility that their mind may be distorting the truth. Adaptive coping strategies are crucial during this phase. Mindfulness practices can help the individual stay grounded in the present moment, reducing the power of the delusion. Cognitive restructuring, a technique used in cognitive behavioral therapy, can assist in challenging and reframing irrational thoughts. For example, instead of thinking, "Everyone is out to get me," the person might learn to reframe this as, "I feel unsafe right now, but that doesn't mean everyone is against me." It's also important for individuals with delusional disorder to gradually re-engage with the social world. Isolation often worsens delusions, so finding ways to connect with others, even in small, manageable steps, can be healing. This might involve joining a support group, participating in community activities, or simply reaching out to trusted friends or family members. As the person begins to distance themselves from their delusion, they may experience a range of emotions: relief, confusion, sadness, even grief. It's important to acknowledge these feelings and understand that letting go of a delusion can feel like losing a part of oneself. After all, the delusion may have provided a sense of purpose or identity, however distorted. And if trying to navigate this journey alone feels too overwhelming, remember that professional help is always an option. Therapists trained in psychotic disorders can offer the guidance and tools needed to fully break free from the grip of delusions. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness, but a courageous step toward reclaiming one's life and mental well-being. In the end, delusional disorder doesn't have to be a life sentence. With understanding, support, and the right tools, it's possible to shatter the illusions and rebuild a life grounded in reality, connection, and hope.